and everything in there. And you and I were talking after the show yesterday, just comparing these two teams and asking the question, where do the Seahawks have an advantage when you look at the matchups? If you want to go individually, do they have a coaching advantage? At this point, I'd say no. You're 5 games into McDonald's tenure. We have no idea what kind of a head coach he's going to be. As much as it pains me to say it, Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach.
Yeah.
He's very good. I mean, it is what it is. And Mike McDonald was talking about Kyle Shanahan and talking about what it is that has made him so successful.
I think it's the aggressive, I'd say the violence and precision on how they run their run game is really good. They hang their hat on what they do, and I think the thing that you respect most about it's like they've taken their system that they like. You turn on the 2014 tape, and a lot of the same blocking schemes, but how they get there is really evolved, and how they utilize their personnel is unique. Similar to like what Mike McDaniel's done in Miami a little bit. And then they've done their spin on it with because they have more speed and things like that. They do a great job.
That's one thing that resonates with me is how they use their personnel, and that they'll take a guy like Juszczyk and pretty much line him up everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing really with Kittle, and then they shift and lots of motion, and that's where we got the phrase from John Lynch, the illusion of complexity, lots of shifting and different kind of plays, just a very different offense. And then every once in a while you'll see him just run like a really old-fashioned run play like Kyle Shanahan's dad used to run in Denver. So, yeah, I feel like if you were to try to nail down what is his offense all about, what does it look like? I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah, it looks a lot of different ways. Kyle Shanahan, for his part, was explaining why McDonald's defense with Baltimore caused them so many problems last year.
Does a real good job mixing all the schemes up, fronts, coverages. His players play real hard. They're coached well. Their techniques are good tacklers, and they mix up the looks.
Yeah, that was probably true there. That wasn't true this past week against the Giants.
No.
Nor was it true against the Lions, but we qualified that with all the injuries. So still waiting to see that great tackling and that aggressiveness. We saw it in the first 3 games. We saw guys fly into the ball. It seemed like everybody was in the right spots. They were in their gaps. And then, things changed the last 2 games. Yeah,
well, it's kind of interesting. I think he referred to the Raven game last year, right?
Yeah.
So the Niners, they piled up 429 yards in that game. I mean, but there was 5 interceptions thrown, 4 by Purdy, and I'd forgotten this. He got sacked by Jadeveon Clowney. Brock Purdy did, and got a stinger, and so he had to go out, and in comes Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold actually threw a touchdown pass, but he also threw another interception. So they had the 5 takeaways, and I just remember that game going, man, they gave up a ton of yards, but like when it was time, and it seemed like it was a lot of right down in the red zone, because that's how you get the 429 yards, and then all of a sudden they're throwing picks, and they take the ball away, and that's something that hasn't really happened yet here. We haven't had that game where it feels like they always come in 2s and 3s or bunches, as they say, and we haven't really seen that takeaway type of defense just yet.
Not yet. Hopefully, maybe it starts tomorrow. So just kind of going through, looking, comparing, all right, where might the Seahawks have an advantage? Coaching, not yet. No. So that goes to the 49ers. What about quarterback? I was looking at the numbers last night. Now, Geno has thrown for 92 more passing yards than Purdy, but he's also got 40 more attempts than Purdy. So Purdy's got 1 more touchdown than Geno. They both have 4 picks. Purdy has a higher quarterback rating and a higher QBR than Geno. So, to me, that's kind of the closest. If you're going to compare, all right, where do they have an advantage? I think Geno certainly has a better arm. He's probably more accurate. He completes at a higher percentage. If you're going to go into QBR and quarterback rating, Purdy gets the nod. Purdy's got more touchdowns, fewer yards, but 40 fewer attempts. Do you think advantage one way or the other there, or is it kind of a wash?
Well, if he hadn't had the performance that he did last week, I think I would say that Geno has the edge. It was kind of a tough day for him, and not really his doing, in my opinion. Number one, didn't help him out by not getting the run game going. And number two, he gets sacked 7 times.
Yeah.
So those are 2 things. And whenever I look at like the success of an offensive line, that's what I look at. Lack of sacks, good running game. So yeah, that made it a little bit tougher to say, but yeah, you're right. I mean, almost in every, I think Brock Purdy, the only one he really dominates in is his average 8.8 yards per throw per attempt, and Geno's at 7.4. But I would have thought differently if you would have asked me that question this time last week.
Yeah, running back, that's not really close. Jordan Mason is second in the league. In rushing yards, 536 yards, 3 TDs. Ken Walker's got 202 yards, but he's got 4 TDs, so there's that. But as far as that rushing attack, we've seen the defense here struggle with stopping the run, and that leads to the other part that you brought up about the O-line. I put, I'm just going through categories. Where do the Seahawks have the advantage? So far, the closest is maybe at quarterback, but it's kind of a wash. Running, the running back situation clearly in favor of the 49ers currently. O-line, I just wrote not a chance. I'm sorry. Seahawks do not have a better O-line than the 49ers, so we can just move on from that. What about D-line? I know we're dealing with injuries. Both teams are dealing with injuries, and they're both coming in off a short week. How do you feel about the D-line? I know it seems a weird question to ask considering what's happened defensively the past couple of weeks, but again, you do acknowledge who's been there and who hasn't been there. So assuming you're gonna have hopefully you're gonna have Mafe, you're gonna have Leonard Williams, you're not gonna have Byron Murphy. Hopefully Derek Hall will be there. What do you think?
Yeah, as far as that goes, I mean, really, if you look at their D line right now, Nick Bosa is probably better than any player on both teams as far as D line goes. But other than that, I mean, I really like what we have. Obviously, Uchenna is out, but like if you look at the outside linebackers and the edge players, and a guy like Jaron Reed, I feel like they don't have a Jaron Reed, so I would give the D line actually to the Seahawks.
Okay, so there's one.
There's agree with that one?
Yeah, to me, that was another one I was going, is it kind of a wash? I mean, there's so much in the way of injury that if everybody's at full strength, I'm leaning toward the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But we're trying to figure out, all right, who's going to be there? Is Mafe there? Is he not? Is Derek Hall going to be there? Is he not? So going into this game, they may have the advantage depending on who's available. Scoring offense, 49ers are 10th in the league, 25.2 points per game. Seahawks are right there. They're 11th, right behind them, 24.4 points per game. So 49ers just slightly better in terms of what they've averaged to this point. Maybe a wash. Scoring defense, 49ers are 13th, allowing 21.2 points per game. Seahawks are 18th, allowing 22.8 points per game. So point-wise, not a ton of difference, but in terms of where they rank, what they've done, the 49ers have the edge in both those categories.